So we are still similar figures. We do not need to add anything into the table of contents. But this is going to be page 43. Okay. Friday, you had to find the unknown, given two pictures, right? Let's look at this. For each pair of similar figures, write a proportion containing the unknown length and then solve. Yes. Let's raise your hand, please, instead of talking out. Now, there's a couple ways to set up this proportion. But the biggest thing with proportions is you've got to label and keep the things together. I'm going to label this my big side or my big picture. This was my small one. On a triangle, you have a side. You can have a diagonal, or the hypotenuse is really what it's called, and then a base. This is the side. This is the side. Again, you can call this diagonal or the hypotenuse and the base. You've got to keep like things together. There's more than one way to set this up. Hold on just a minute. I like to set up all of the big thing on one side of the proportion, all of the small on the other side of the proportion. But you don't have to do that. I will show you both ways. Here, my big. I'm going to say the side. I'm going to say 15 over X. I'm going to put my side over my base. I'm going to look at my small. I got to do my side over my base. I put my big on one side of the proportion. I put my small on the other side of the proportion. I put my two sides on top, my two bases on the bottom. Do you guys see that? Okay. How do I solve this proportion? What do? This part you should know. Cross multiply. I'm going to say 6 times 15 equals 10 times X. 6 times 15 gives me 90. How do I get the X by itself? Divide by 10 on both sides. So X is going to be what? X is going to be 9. Okay. Let me show you other ways I could have done this. Did I have to use the side? No, I could have used a diagonal. Okay. I could have said big, do the diagonal on the top, base on the bottom. Diagonal for the small over base. When I cross multiply here, I would do 18 times 6 equals 12 times X. 18 times 6 is 108. I would divide by the 12. Again, this is 9. There are multiple ways to set up this proportion. Yes. 12 times X. Because I cross multiplied like I did with my 10 and my X. Yes. Yes, but there's nothing around here. It came out whole. When I put this into the calculator, 18 times 6 gives me 108. 108 divided by 12 is 9. I don't have, there's nothing to round. Okay? I could have, if I had wanted to, I could have put the sides together and the bases together. My big side is 15. My small side is 10. My big base, I don't know. My small base, I do know. But if you notice, when I cross multiply, I'm still multiplying 15 and 6, just like I did here. Do you guys understand that? No matter how you set up your proportion, if you use the side and the base, 15 had to be multiplied by 6. No matter how you set up the proportion with the diagonal and the base, the 18 and 6 would be multiplied. So yes, there are multiple ways to set up the proportion, but you still should get the same answer. Do you guys understand that? And on this one, I knew all of the sides. So I could have used the side and the base or the diagonal and the base. But do I know all the sides here? Do I know all of the sides of the trapezoid here? No. So I don't have a choice on what numbers to multiply here. Okay? I'm going to label this big. I'm going to label this small. This is my side. This is my base. This is my side. This is my base. I personally like keeping the big together. So if I was setting up the proportion, I would say 5.2, which is my side, over my base. I would put my side, which is y, I don't know it, over my base. I set up the sides, which is 5.2 and y on the top. I put the two base numbers on the bottom. Do you see how you have to label? It's just like with proportions with apples and money. You got to keep your labels together. How do I solve for y? Cross multiply. Okay? I'm going to say 5.2 times 2.5. I'm going to say 6.5 times y. $5.2 times 2.5 is 13. To get the y by itself, I'm going to divide by the 6.5. 13 divided by 6.5, and I get 2. So y is 2. Are there any questions? Okay, look at number 3 for a minute. Are the two pictures oriented? Are they facing the same way? No. So you got to flip one of those. If you got to redraw it flipped, is that okay to do? Yes. I want you to take me now. I want you to try number 3 on your own. Discussed that the two shapes are not situated the same way, right? I got to flip one of them to match it. If I flip this one, I got to move the 12.5 to the base. If I move it to the base and I make my two right angles the same, this is the side I don't know. So I'm going to use these 4 numbers. Okay? I have the big one. I'm going to say side over the base. I got my small one. I'm going to say side over base. Do you guys see how I rotated this one? I wanted the right triangle on the right. So I flipped it. And that's this picture right here. 12 is on the bottom, or 12.5 is on the bottom, the X is on the side. Now what do I do, Trumel? Okay, what's your question? No, you could have put the base on the top. I could have done 12.5 over X, 5 over 12. I could have put a base on the top. As long as you keep them together. I just typically go left to right. So I do whatever's on the side, then the bottom. That's just, I get in one habit and I keep going. That way I know I'm going in the same direction always. Okay. How do I solve for X now? Cross multiply. Okay. So I'm going to do 12 times 12.5 equals 5 times X. Twelve times 12.5 gives me 150. How do I get the X by itself? What do I do? divided by 5. 150 divided by 5 is 30. Did anybody honestly get 30? Okay. Did I have to rotate this one, or could I have rotated this one? I could have rotated this one. If I had flipped this one and made a right triangle down here, 5 would have been here, the 12 would have been here, the 13 would have been here. Are there any questions? Okay, word problems, which we're going to do a little bit of, but not much today. It says a palm tree casts a shadow that's 28 feet long. A 6-foot sign casts a shadow that's 8 feet long. How tall is the tree? When you were given word problems, draw pictures. Did you guys hear that part? When you were given word problems, you got to draw pictures. And they gave us pictures here. Where is the shadow? Does the shadow go up in the air or across the ground? Across the ground. So here's my palm tree. The shadow is 28 feet. A 6-foot sign casts a shadow that's 8 feet. I made sure my 2 shadows were on the ground. Do you guys see that? How tall is the pine tree? I'm trying to figure this one out. Set up a proportion. Yes, sir.
How does a 6-foot tall sign cast a shadow that's long?
Have you ever stood in the road and had a shadow be taller than you? It all depends on the angle of the sun. It all depends. The higher up in the sky it is, the shorter your shadow. The lower in the sky it is in the early morning or late at night, the longer your shadow is going to be. Okay? So here I have my palm tree and I have my sign. I'm going to say my palm tree. I don't know my side, but I know my base. I know my sign, I know my base. I'm going to cross multiply. 28 times 6 equals 8x. I'm going to put that in the calculator. 28 times 6 is 168. I got to divide by 8. And I'm going to get 21. Miss Barman. Hey. Yes. Huh? Riley, you need to go see Miss Pressler. Grab the hall pass. Don't start that. I'm going to send you right with him. Yes. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Let's glue this on page 43.